This is your overview of the LS9 console with firmware version 1.01. Before we get started going through the signal chain, I want to point out a few things to you. First is a preference. If you go to Setup and go to Preferences, hit Enter, you'll find an item called Pop-Up appears when pressing knobs. Turn that on, you'll get much use out of it. Alright, and now we're going to go on to the next thing, which is the UDKs. The UDKs are what I call them. They're actually user-defined keys, hence UDK. There's 12 of them on this console, which I'm sure you'll get a lot of use out of. We'll be using those for different things throughout the overview today, so just keep those in mind. The help file is a file that you can load onto your LS9 through the USB stick, and you can download this help file from Yamaha, or you can actually create your own help file if you want. The help file actually has a cool little feature where you can actually use one of the UDKs to hold the help file. So if you cursor around to something that you need information on, like say the EQ, so we cursor over to the EQ, and we can hit what I've pre-programmed, the UDK help file, and hit that file and enter at the same time, and it'll actually do a search through the help file and find the topic that you're wanting to use. Quite a cool little feature there. Okay, now we're going to move on to the signal chain. First off, we want to talk to you about the head amp section. The head amp section is pretty standard. If you don't know by now, these have built-in recallable head amp pre's, and if you press the head amp gain, you'll see a bank of 8 pop up. And in the head amp section, you have, of course, the gain and also phantom power and phase, so you can use those however you'd like. And then moving on to the EQ section, we'll find a 4-band EQ with separate variable high pass. You can touch the EQ knob, and it'll bring up a larger view of the EQ section. And one of the really cool features I like with this is that if you set a EQ that you don't like I have on the high band, and I want to actually get rid of it, instead of backpedaling through the parameters, you can hit the gain and Q and actually zero that out. Great little feature. Alright, moving on into the dynamics section. There's not a lot of change here, but what I do want you to know is that there's some dynamics that will work in dynamic slot 1 and some that will only work in dynamic slot 2, and then there's things like the compressor that can work in both. But I just wanted to make you aware that there's a lot of cool new dynamics that they've added to this console, so check them out. Alright, now moving into the aux section. One of the things I want to point out in the aux section is the aux on sends. So we're going to go into to the aux section. Actually, let's go into the master section, and you can see the 16 auxes here. What's different here is to get it on aux on faders, you actually have to hit the button twice. If it's already lit, though, you only have to hit it once, and then the auxes will go in the faders. And then you can go around, move around until you're through, and then you just hit home keying back to your home page of your selected channel. Alright, and now into the pan section. Once again, if you touch the pan, you can get the pan section up, and you can see in here that I've actually got an LCR mode, and that's the way we use our system, so that's the way I have it set up. Alright, and the last stop on the input section will be the faders. This console doesn't have DCAs, and so a feature I was trying to find is something I could use instead of the DCAs. And they actually added in a cool feature that actually allows that to work pretty easy. All you have to do is start with a linked group of channels like I have here, and you can use the select key to actually break that channel from the group, and then once you let go, it relinks itself to the group at its new set level. Alright, moving from the input section to the output section, we'll find that there's not a whole lot new here, but there's a matrix section. you can access the matrix section by going to your master section, and basically the matrix section is these 8 sections. If you're not familiar, matrices are basically like auxes for your outputs. So if you want to mix up your outputs, you can. The rack section would probably fill a whole other overview, but I'll try to condense it down to the highlights of the new control features. Starting in rack 1 through 4, which are the EQs, which can be 4 31-band EQs or 8 15-band EQs. The graphic EQs can be controlled from the faders using a fader assign button. On the bottom of the graphic page, you'll notice a 20 to 20 on the 32 channel version, and you can just hit enter and it'll turn your faders into a graphic EQ. And now you can move those to however you like, and if you don't like it, you hit the on button key and they flatten out themselves. And you can assign this fader assign button to the UDK if you'd like. Alright, in spaces 5 through 8 of the rack section, you'll find the effects. While I could spend quite some time talking about these wonderful effects, I'll have to let you rest assured that Yamaha has well taken care of you. Jump and explore to your heart's content. The 2 things I would like to point out are the UDK controls. One is the ability to set a tempo for delay through a tap tempo UDK, and the other is to set up a UDK as an effects bypass, and you can do this per effect. Now, this next feature has sparked a lot of interest, and it is something I will definitely take advantage of. It's the built-in USB recorder player. This allows recording of your source of output in 3 bitrate flavors. This is a nice feature, but the player itself is even better. With the player, you can assign the output to your choice of channel and assign all of the transport features of the recorder and player to the UDKs if you want. But wait, the excitement doesn't stop there. You can assign a file to directly play when you hit a certain UDK using the direct play feature. If that's not enough for you, you can actually do a scene link feature, so you can assign a file to play with a certain scene recall, so that whenever the scene recall is hit, the file starts playing. Now, the player only supports 3 different file formats, so it'll have to either be a MP3, a WMA, or a ACC. One of my favorite features, often overlooked in consoles, is the talkback. The talkback can use any input of your choice and can be output to any of the buses. Once again, getting the UDKs involved, you can assign the talkback to a UDK key. By simply pressing it, you can have it in latched or unlatched mode. And the difference between latched and unlatched mode is with latched, it's push on and push off. With the unlatched, it's push on and hold to talk. The next thing I want to touch on is USB keys and lockout. With the LS9, you have 3 levels of access. The first is admin, which is pretty self-explanatory. The next is guest, which can have as much power as the user class, or none at all. To me, I would think it would be simple to just turn off all the features on the guest, but you never know when a guest might have to control at least the faders or at least turn on a channel. So we're going to go ahead and leave those on for now. As for all my known users, they will get user keys with a defined set of presets and abilities. So if you set up all of this, there must be a reason, right? Well, if you've ever had someone mess with your settings while you're away from your console, you now have the control to lock out those dubious wrongdoers. First, go to the Setup button and press it until you get to the Miscellaneous Setup. Once there, you'll notice the console lockout at the lower left-hand corner. You can simply apply that, and as you can see, I've added in my own customized logo, which you can also do. And basically all that is a 320 by 240 bitmap at 216 colors to add your own personal flair to it. The last thing I want to touch on is the scene recall features. There are 3 features that I really think you should know about. They are safe mode, focus mode, and fade. While I have used the safe mode before, I thought it was a good thing to point out. The safe mode is basically there to allow you to exclude certain items from a scene recall. On the flip side, focus allows you to focus in or include certain things in a recall. So it's basically the opposite of the safe mode. And then, of course, I'm sure you could guess what the fade is. The fade just basically allows you to fade in scenery calls instead of them just quick snapping into place. So if you want something a little smoother transition, now you can have it. Well, that's all I got for you for now, but if you would like to ask me a question or have any comments, you can reach me over at churchmedia.net forums. My username is GraceTech, and may God bless your tech ministry.